go.
I start today's show with a tweeted question from Raven Fred, who asks, is Harbaugh on the hot seat? What? Raven Fred, your Baltimore Ravens played in the AFC Championship game last season, and you want John Harbaugh fired? If Zay Flowers hadn't fumbled at the goal line, I believe your Ravens would have gone to the Super Bowl. In this year's opening Thursday night game at Kansas City versus the defending champs, your Ravens came within a toenail of sending the game into overtime on what looked like a last-second Lamar Jackson touchdown pass, and now you want your coach fired? Raven Fred, Sunday, your Ravens will run my Dallas Cowboys off the field at Jerry World, which for me has turned into Scary World. Even Fred Flintstone could see what's coming. Derrick Henry lives in Dallas and wanted the Cowboys to sign him. I pounded the table for the Cowboys to sign Derrick Henry, but no, they wanted to bring back Zeke. My nose runs faster than Zeke does right now. So, big, bad Derrick Henry signed with your Baltimore Ravens, signed for $8 piddly million a year, and now he'll return home to show Jerry Jones what he could have had. And you want John Harbaugh fired? Fred, your Ravens blew that 10-point fourth-quarter lead to the Raiders last Sunday in Baltimore because they were looking ahead to my Cowboys. Everybody looks ahead to my Cowboys. The Saints would rather beat the Cowboys than any team on their schedule. Trust me. And did they ever beat the living spit out of my Cowboys last Sunday at Scary World? And you think you have it bad, Fred? My Dallas Cowboys haven't even come close to going to an NFC championship game in almost 30 years. 30 years! Everybody wants to beat us, to humiliate us, to annihilate us, but nobody understands this but me. We're not the wow boys anymore. We're imposters. We're frauds. The emperor has no clothes. Do you remember that story, Fred? These fake tailors convinced the king they'd made him this great new outfit that did not exist. They told him how incredible he looked in what was really his birthday suit. So the king, thinking he looked sensational, he goes parading through his kingdom naked. The emperor had no clothes. That's my Cowboys, Fred. We might as well be playing in our birthday suits. That's 2 straight home games. Think about this. 2 straight home games in which we've gotten exposed the way no NFL team ever gets exposed. Think about this. In back-to-back home games, we've given up 27 and 35 points in the first half and 48 and 44 points for the game. 27, 35, 48, 44. Okay, against Green Bay in last year's home playoff game. Remember that? As the 2 seed and as a 7-point favorite, we were down 27-0 before halftime. We were down 48-16 with 10 minutes left in the game. Fred, I've loved this team with all my heart and soul since I was 10 years old, but I couldn't take it anymore. I threw every last piece of my Cowboys garb in the trash. All my jerseys, all my hats. I wanted Cowboy Nation to wake up and realize just how bad this was. But I couldn't get anyone to listen. Oh, he's just a Cowboy nut. He'll get over it. I was the Cowboy fan who cried wolf. Remember that story, Fred? The boy keeps yelling, there's a wolf, when there wasn't a wolf. Then all of a sudden, he yells wolf when there actually is a wolf, and everybody says false alarm, and the wolf eats the boy, or in this case, the Cowboys. I spent the entire offseason crying wolf. But Jerry soon said he was all in on fixing this team, and so many Cowboy fans bought that. And pretty soon, I tweeted, all in my ass, because Jerry did next to nothing to improve this team that was down 27-0 before halftime. He did not fire the head coach. He didn't make the quarterback who's 2-5 in playoff games reprove himself this season. No, he made Dak Prescott the highest paid player in all of football. Wolf! Wolf! I predicted we'd go 8-9 and miss the playoffs. Then we won the opener at Cleveland because Deshaun Watson is a broken man and because he didn't have either of his starting offensive tackles. Yet in the second half, Dak's offense had the ball 6 times and managed all of 46 total yards, going 0 for 5 on third down. Wolf! Last Sunday at home, as yet again 7-point favorites, we gave up 35 points in the first half after 3 quarters. Think about this. The New Orleans Saints had scored 7 touchdowns while we had scored 1. And that one came when 2 defenders, closely covering CeeDee Lamb, overran him and let him escape 65 yards for a touchdown. That was our only 1 touchdown through 3 quarters. This was a college football kind of mismatch. This kind of annihilation just does not happen in the National Football League, where there's such a fine line between winning and losing. Well, Sunday at Scary World for the second straight home game, that fine line was the Grand Freaking Canyon. Wolf! We're about to get eaten again at home, this time by your Ravens, Raven Fred. I keep trying to tell everybody we're imposters, we're frauds, we're products of the Cowboy hype machine. Would you believe just before this season started, I saw 2 NFL media experts pick my Dallas Cowboys to win the Super Bowl? I saw 2 more pick them to make it to the Super Bowl. Please listen to me. This year's Cowboys are rotten to the core. We can't stop the run, and we can't run. We were so lucky at Cleveland that Nick Chubb was out. Alvin Kamara ran wild on us. The Saints wound up with 190 yards rushing, while we managed all of 68. Meanwhile, Derek Hughes' Carr had a QBR, the scale of 0 to 100, of 99.4. That's the 5th highest QBR of all time because he threw a Mardi Gras party at Scary World. Wake up, Cowboy Nation. This was wrong, so very, very wrong. If only we could vote Jerry Jones out of office. So why did I pick the team I hate the most to win the Super Bowl? Why did I pick the no good, low down, stinking Eagles to win it all? I do believe in Jalen Hurts. You know this. I do believe he's a better baller, leader, winner than Dak is. And I do think that Eagles GM, Howie Roseman, is way better at improving his team than Jerry Jones is as the owner and operator of my team. But I picked the Eagles to win it all because that's the one division rival that could shake up and wake up Jerry Jones. So what happened Monday night? Insult to injury. Jalen Hurts flipped the game-clinching pass to Saquon Barkley, who dropped it. And Kirk Cousins, the most overpaid quarterback in football history, threw the Falcons right down the field, boom, 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 to a 1-point victory. No! Now old Jerry will sit back on his aging ass and stroke his chin and grin and think, we're just fine. Cowboys are 1-1. Eagles are 1-1. No! Wolf! My team is in big trouble, lasting trouble, unfixable trouble, because my team has no leadership, no backbone. Jerry Jones is no dynamic leader. He's just obsessed with being Jerry Jones. Mike McCarthy's motivational speeches would make great ASMR for people who want to be put to sleep. Dak has tricked everybody into believing he's some natural-born leader. He's not, because he can't back it up in the biggest games on the field. And neither can my alleged best player on defense, Micah Parsons. Real leaders would have this team readier to play in big games against good teams, which are almost always more emotionally charged to play us than vice versa. And by the way, speaking of Micah Parsons, he's turned into the most overhyped player in the entire National Football League. All you have to do is run at Micah, and he retreats, and he disappears. I had to look at the final stats on Sunday to make sure Micah even played in the game. But I'm sure his podcast was great this week. Raven Fred, you have a two-time MVP at quarterback, a real gamer, a genuine baller, a leader. And you want John Harbaugh and his Super Bowl ring gone? You are stark Raven mad, or maybe just spoiled rotten. But have I ever got the quick fix for you, Fred? I give you my Wow Boys this Sunday at Jerry World, now everybody's favorite stomping grounds. We've given up an average of 46 points in our last two home games. 46 points. Hey, if you don't score at least 40, then you can fire Harbaugh. Whew. Time out for a little swig of dew here. Diet Mountain Dew, Breakfast Champions, Nectar of the Gods. Okay. Hey, YouTube, please leave me a comment or a question in the comment section, and I will respond. So here's a comment about Brady the broadcaster from Vernon Applewhite 9451, who says, Tom doesn't have to be controversial to make an impact. He's going to succeed based on who he is and because of his knowledge of the game. Vernon, love you, man. But you sound as gee-whizzy as Brady the broadcaster. I'll say it again. Brady was the greatest football player ever. I've said it for years. But analyzing games on the fly, on live network television, Tom so far is just another sixth-round draft pick. And I am not sure he'll get a whole lot better. So Sunday, I listened to Brady for a full game, his second as a broadcaster. Then I listened to Tony Romo for a full game. That was Bengals at Chiefs. I was stunned at how much more X and O insight and enlightenment Tony Romo provided instantaneously than Captain Obvious Brady did. This is something I'd say I have a pretty good feel for because over the last, 20 years, I've worked with hundreds of ex-star athletes on live national television testing their split-second ability to talk the game they played at such a high level. You'd be shocked at how many just can't. They just played. Romo, the undrafted free agent, played with his mind. It's possible that Tom Brady, the most accurate passer I ever saw, played more with feel and instincts that are extremely difficult to verbalize and explain on the fly. Maybe Brady's football genius is just too complex for public consumption. Or maybe Brady spent so many years under Belichick learning to publicly guard what he was really thinking that now Brady's having trouble spilling the beans on national TV. Maybe he's just patting us all on the head with all his gee-whizzy, mamby-pamby, plain vanilla cliches. Maybe he's just saying between the lines, I can't really go deep on this stuff with so many morons listening. But hey, Tom's just 2 games into his new endeavor. So Vernon, I won't leap to a conclusion. And then again, Belichick, the broadcaster, deserves the criticism I'm about to heap on him. Now, I said all along that Brady should get 75% of the credit for the New England dynasty. Belichick, 25%. For the record, as a head coach, nobody likes me to point this out, but Belichick was 64-85 overall without Brady. 64-85. And that's 34-51 without Brady just in New England. Obviously, Bill was in Cleveland. Bill in New England without Brady was 0-1 in the playoffs, which was that 47-17 disaster in Buffalo, in which the Bills scored on every single possession. The perfect game. Huh? And who can forget that Super Bowl? That one that Belichick cost Brady when Brady threw for an all-time playoff record 505 yards against a top 5 Eagles defense. That day, Belichick's vaunted defense gave up 41 points to the Eagles' backup quarterback, Nick Foles. Brady lost that Super Bowl 41-33. So it was the other day that I stumbled upon this clip from Belichick's new show called Coach. It was from an episode that was taped and dropped just before the season started. For a second, as I watched it, I actually thought it was a spoof. So I watched it back, and it sounds like Belichick is making the case that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb are at least as difficult to defend as Montana and Rice were back in their 49er days. What? Okay, so here's some of that clip.
Yeah, well, I sit back and think about a lot of Tuesdays that I had trying to stop Montana and Rice. Those are the two guys in San Francisco, Lamb and Prescott. Those are the two guys we're talking about with the Cowboys. 4,500 yards, 105 quarterback rating. Montana was 92. So, Prescott had a tremendous year last year. If he can maintain that same type of production this year, Dallas is going to be, it can be a hard team to beat all year.
So Belichick is gushing about how Dak had a passer rating of 105 last year, while Montana's was 92. Bill, that was Montana's career passer rating, which includes a nightmarish rookie year and his final two less than stellar seasons in Kansas City. Seriously, Bill? This was a bigger stretch than Gumby. I mean, I'm insulted by this comparison, and I'm obviously a Cowboy fanatic and CD's biggest fan. I mean, is Bill Belichick aware of how Dak played at Arizona last year and at San Francisco and at Buffalo? And, of course, at home in that Green Bay playoff debacle? Really, Bill? In playoff games, do I need to remind you, Montana went 16-7, including 4-0 in Super Bowls. 4-0 in Super Bowls. Dak is 2-5 in playoff games, and once again has never even come close to playing in even an NFC championship game. If I had made this comparison, this case, I'd get laughed off the internet. I mean, is it possible Belichick isn't quite the football genius everybody thought? Is it possible that the less he said while he was a head coach, the smarter he got? Belichick worked harder than any coach I've ever been around or closely observed at saying nothing in interview sessions. And did his genius mystique ever grow because of that? Is it possible that now that Belichick, the broadcaster, is forced to open up and go into depth about football, that he's getting exposed? Then again, I guess it's possible Belichick overhyped Dak and CD to remind Jerry Jones what a great next Cowboy coach Bill Belichick would be. But I remind you, I campaigned for Jerry to fire Mike McCarthy and hire Jim Harbaugh before the Chargers did, and they're now the 2-0 Chargers. Bill Belichick is as overhyped as my Cowboys are. The other day, I read a column by Nancy Armour in USA Today headlined, Caitlin Clark, Patrick Mahomes, bland answers evoke Michael Jordan era of athlete activism. So I got to know Nancy a little when I worked in Chicago, and she was covering Chicago sports for the Associated Press. I liked her. Always read what she writes. But in this column, she took Caitlin and Patrick to task for dodging questions about who they're supporting in this upcoming presidential election. Both said they'd just please like everybody to get out and vote. Yeah, Nancy wrote that Caitlin's Instagram account was flooded with nasty comments from supposed fans upset she liked Taylor Swift's post endorsing Kamala Harris. And Nancy wrote that Mahomes is getting backlash both from people who want him to disassociate himself from his wife's presumed pro-Trump beliefs, and people angry he didn't defend his wife's presumed pro-Trump beliefs. No surprise. So now we're back to this question. Should every professional athlete be required to publicly declare which way he or she is voting for president? This is just me. No, not unless they want to. So in Nancy's column, she makes mention of how Michael Jordan, Derek Jeter, Tiger Woods avoided taking any kind of stand. This reminded me of a conversation I once had in Chicago in 1998 with Michael Jordan. He told me he didn't get involved in politics because he just didn't follow politics. He just didn't know enough about politics. So I asked him, even when the black community needs you to pick a side? Michael just shrugged and said, I just don't know enough about it. The truth was, Michael just didn't care enough about the world's problems or the black community's issues to get involved. And yes, he once infamously said, Republicans buy sneakers too, even though he says that was said in jest as part of team bus trash talk. Trust me on this. Michael Jordan was more obsessed with playing basketball than any basketball player I have ever known. He was addicted to just competing at basketball, at golf, at cards, at whatever, at life. Nobody had to tell Michael Jordan to just shut up and dribble. That's all he wanted to do. Just be the greatest basketball player ever. And was he ever? And I, for one, could not condemn him for that. My favorite athlete when I was a kid was Muhammad Ali, in part because he took such strong and dangerous and lonely and courageous public stands against racism when that was not popular. That's just who he was. That was what he was made of, what he was born to do. I've long applauded the public stance LeBron James has taken against racial injustice. Seriously, if LeBron ran for president one day, I would vote for LeBron James. But I also once applauded Charles Barkley for saying in a commercial, I am not a role model. True that. Look, I've been interacting with sports stars for 50 years. Many of those sports stars have been spoiled rotten since they were the best kid on the field or on the court when they were 5 or 6 years of age. My friend Tom House, the former big league pitcher, is a throwing guru who taught Brady and Breeze, has a great term for this: suspended adolescence. I'll say it again, suspended adolescence. So many sports stars just never have to grow up. So many have so much money so quickly. They are so worshiped wherever they go that they just don't live in the real world, in our world. And I, for one, do not look to any of them for life advice. So I, for one, don't need Caitlin or Patrick to pick a side unless they want to. If they want to just obsess on being the greatest ever, obsess away. If they want to go Ali or LeBron, God bless them. If they want to campaign for Kamala or for Donald Trump, that should be their right as an American. But that's just me. John from Washington asks, how does it feel to be right about Baker Mayfield? John, the truth is it feels like validation from my mantra, which has always been trust your instincts. That's been the essence of my career. Newspapers, radio, TV, social media. Trust your eyes, trust your gut. You can laugh at this one if you want to. Trust that voice deep down inside you. I call it my God voice. Then stand strong and stick with your opinion no matter what. I said before Baker's draft, I'd take him first overall because he'll win a lot of games for you. He wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the quickest, he wasn't the fastest, but he's sneaky athletic. He has a whip of an arm. He loves to trash talk and compete. He's a charismatic leader that a team will come to love and follow. And he will pull off big clutch throws. But man, did I ever take a lot of crap on TV and on social media when Baker did all those early at home with Baker Mayfield commercials. Target on his back got bigger and bigger before he'd really proven anything. Did I ever take a lot of crap when he and Odell fell apart, and when he and Stefanski fell apart, and when Baker's body fell apart late in his Cleveland run, and when he fell on his face in Carolina? And now Baker Mayfield is the toast of Tampa Bay. My sources inside the Bucs tell me they are 1,000% sold on Baker as their leader. Now they're 2-0 coming off that huge hang tough win at Detroit, after which Baker was given the opportunity in his on-field interview to gloat. Nope. Baker took the high road. He's growing up. And now it's time for me to dig in and fight for Bryce Young. I will admit to you, it has scared me how short and slight he looks out there among all those NFL gladiators. But I believed in Bryce Young when he was drafted first overall because he has a live and accurate arm, and because I believe in this young man's football backbone and in his clutch toughness. I believe Bryce Young will battle his way out of that football hell he finds himself in, yep, you guessed it, Carolina. What a sad sack franchise that is. Bad owner, wrong place, wrong time for Bryce Young, as it was for Baker. So maybe like Baker, Bryce is going to have to start over with another team and win that job. It's going to be a long, hard fight, and I'm ready for it. Kyle from Cleveland asks, I get why you will say forever Brady over Mahomes. But at what point will you stop saying Burrow over Mahomes? Well, at least this wasn't Kyle from Kansas City, but Kyle, I ask you, at what point will you stop getting blindsided, blinded by Mahomes' left-handed, no-look, behind-the-back, between-the-legs passes? Overhyped. Once again, Sunday, I watched Joe Burrow outplay Patrick Mahomes, this time in Kansas City. I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating any of these numbers. Joe Burrow threw for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions to Patrick Mahomes' career low 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. That could have been 3. Burrow's QBR was 66. That scales 0 to 100. Not bad. Mahomes' QBR was 31. Not good. Joe Burrow does not have a Travis Kelce. When in doubt, Burrow can't run around and just heave it up in 87's direction for a clutch completion. Burrow has Gesicki. Gesicki? Really? Burrow no longer has Tyler Boyd or Joe Mixon. Burrow does have a disgruntled, distracted Jamar Chase, who still does not have a new contract and who lost his cool and got a 15-yard penalty in Sunday's fourth quarter. But Joe Burrow just plays that position, that hardest position in sports, quarterback. He just plays quarterback a little better than Mahomes does. I'm talking about poise, command, accuracy, speed reading, anticipation. He's the closest thing we have left to Tom Brady. Only this Joe Cool can move in ways Brady never could. But no, he hasn't been able to stay healthy enough. And yes, late in Sunday's game, trying to do too much, Joe Burrow got stripped on a desperate scramble. Yet Mahomes was then very fortunate on that late 4th and 16. He got a rookie safety to arrive a split second early for the game-saving flag. Kyle, did you watch Mahomes' first Super Bowl when he threw a late third quarter, early fourth quarter interception down 20-10 against the 49ers? Brady and the Bucs destroyed Mahomes and the Chiefs in Patrick's second Super Bowl. In his third Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes threw for a grand total of 182 yards on an Eagles defense even Dak had torched. And in last year's Super Bowl, Mahomes did not put up nearly the numbers against the 49ers that Joe Burrow put up in a win at San Francisco during the regular season. Interesting. Kyle, Burrow is better than Mahomes. I triple down on that. And I dare you to tell me I'm wrong. Okay, suffer me this. Now for my latest pet peeve. Speaking of T. Higgins and the Bengals, one day last week, the lead story on ESPN.com for an entire day was T. Higgins saying, I just don't understand why fans think I'm faking an injury. Huh? What fans? Then it dawned on me. This whole story was based on social media comments that T. Higgins had made the mistake of reading. In fact, it could have been one fan hiding behind his or her keyboard in, I don't know, in Peru, who tried to get a response out of T. Higgins by saying, man, it's obvious you're faking your injury. T. Higgins was responding to nobodies, maybe just one nobody, maybe with a hidden agenda. So then last week I read where WNBA stars criticized their commissioner for not more strongly condemning all the racist hate, all the other forms of hate on their social media feeds. Yep, the commissioner was condemned, even though in an interview, she gave her stars the best advice possible. Think about this. The commissioner said in an interview, if someone's typing something and you wouldn't ask for their advice, ignore it. Better still, I say, don't read it in the first place. This just in, WNBA. There are lots and lots of racists out there, and they can walk right through your front door into your psyche if you open that front door for them. Yet, so many stars in all sports are so shockingly insecure that they desperately need to read positive reinforcement from nameless, faceless nobodies, sometimes at halftime or immediately after the game. But of course, as they scroll their feeds, they just might stumble across one nameless, faceless racist who calls them the N-word. Oh no, how dare this nameless, faceless racist? He or she is a racist. What did you expect? I'm sorry, the joke is on the stars for letting the racists come right through their front door into their psyche. So as you might or might not know, I quit reading my ats, my mentions, my comments a long time ago because I'm pretty sure I'm the biggest lightning rod in all of sports media. And obviously, a whole lot of internet evil gets aimed at me. So back in 2012, it was, ESPN security got so concerned about the many death threats I've received via Twitter that I'd received at that point in that year. I had to have 24-hour bodyguard security during the NBA Finals back in my hometown of Oklahoma City. I had to go home to my hometown with 24/7 bodyguard security because of death threats I had read and passed along on my Twitter feed. I've probably received a whole lot more death threats since then, but I quit reading my comments. I broke myself of that habit because it's a really bad habit. I watched that addictive habit destroy people I worked with on air, destroy them. People who scrolled their positive, scrolled for positive reinforcement during every commercial break. People I worked with on air who let Twitter define them. Say this, don't say this. Do this, don't do that. Wear this, but don't ever wear that again. Now I have my producer, Tyler Korn, sift through all of your questions and comments for the best ones. And as you've seen, I welcome inbounds disagreement. Welcome it. Bring it on, please. Tell me I'm wrong. I would highly recommend to star athletes to at least have your version of my Tyler Korn, sift through your comments, and eliminate the hate. Trust me, it will improve your mental health. This is from Command Sergeant Major Darium Thomas from Fort Knox, Kentucky. You have written great informative books. Is there a chance we'll be blessed to see the autobiography of Skip Bayless in the near future? I am blessed to be asked this question, sir. The answer is yes. Soon. Working on it as we speak. Last question. John Patterson from Warwick, Rhode Island asks, I saw your thoughts on X regarding Tom Brady calling the Cowboys game. Have you ever thought of being a color commentator? Yes, I have, John. Twice ESPN offered me 3 minutes on halftime of Monday Night Football with my man Stephen A. Smith. First time I turned it down to leave for FS1. Second time, I tried to return to ESPN, but Fox matched the financial offer because Fox had a matching clause and kept me there. Oh, well, not meant to be. But do I think I could be a commentator in, say, a 3-person booth for an entire NFL or even an NBA game? Yes, I do, John. I do believe I could entertain you. I could enlighten you. I could at least make you think. And I also believe network bosses would be scared to death of me on live TV. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing. Thanks to Ernestine for overseeing. And thanks, above all, to Hazel for approving.